Hi, I wanted to talk a little bit today about, the cancellation of the Washington State spring black bear hunting season and the way black bear conflict gets handled in Washington now. So historically, when there was the Washington State spring black bear hunting season, it was a permit draw, and the department had control over where someone's permit would be good, which is to say that spring hunt that Washington had back then was not a general hunt. So if you got drawn for a permit, it was not a statewide hunt. You could not go hunt statewide in the spring for the duration of your permit. It allowed the department to target where they put hunters. If there was issues with black bears in a certain area, they could put hunters there on a spring permit, on a spring black bear hunt permit. And so it gave the department control over putting hunters on the landscape. We talked before in previous video about the department is pretty clear about this, and the science is pretty clear about this as well, that simply having hunters on the landscape mitigates a lot of problems with black bears. And so that's important. The department also will admit that a lot of black bear human black bear conflict happens in the spring. And so removing that tool, which number one, it allowed the department to target areas where there was reported known issues of black bear conflict, put some hunters into that area. And then it also allowed for putting hunters into the landscape. Harvest success rates were not all that great historically in the spring black bear hunting season, which could have been anything from weather patterns to shifting population to whether or not the sows had been productive over the course of the last several years. Maybe they had an off year where not that many sows were putting out cubs. Just whatever, the things fluctuate over years. But if they needed to put hunters into a certain area, they had that control. Well, with that going away, now the department, as a result of removing hunters from the landscape, what it's done, and the department did this a while back, a number of years ago, and the commission also has input into this sort of thing because they want it to be this way. The department retains authority regarding black bear and cougar conflict incidents. So if there's an incident of human black bear conflict, it's going to be enforcement who responds on that. With cougar, it tends to be conflict staff, but if it gets to the point where there's going to be a removal, enforcement is involved in that. And historically, hunters were part of that process. They were part of how are we going to handle these how are we going to handle these black bears that needed to be managed, that needed to sort of have some pressure on them, drive them back out into the wild places so that they're not coming in contact with the more suburban areas where bears are looking for food in the spring. That's another thing that kind of goes into this in the spring is, they're just roving around looking for food, and human beings are a great place for them to gravitate towards because we have, small livestock, small pets. People are leaving out dog food, garbage cans, just that whole sort of thing. And in the absence of putting hunters out into the environment, putting hunters out into the field, there's no reason for bears not to come hang out with the people, eat their pets, get into their garbage, do all the things that black bears will do. So if you like bigger government and you like the government needing to hire more people and the department needing to hire more people because now there's more black bear conflict, and under the law, and I'll put some links down below, but under the law, that whole black bear and cougar conflict thing, that's a department thing. Department retains authority and control over that. There was some conversation with the commission about currently the department issues wildlife control operator licenses for members of the public to go do some testing and get certified so that they can then go and offer a service of handling conflict wildlife, except the department will not authorize wildlife control operators to handle bear or cougar conflict issues. Those are exclusively handled by the department. So as population numbers have increased, and we've talked about that, black bear population numbers are up. They need more staff, they need more employees, they need more trucks. So if you like big government, and if you like bigger government, and you don't want the public to take care of things that normally, naturally, historically, the public has taken care of all by themselves, just perfectly fine. Somebody could call their neighbor who is a hunter, who would come out, and during a licensed hunting season, they could, help them out with these problems. But now, take away the entire spring season, and the commission is now shortening the general season. There's less time for hunters to be involved in that equation, i.e., the department needs to expand so that the department has the staff, the employees, the tools, the equipment to go out and deal with these increased conflict issues. It's also happening in parallel on the cougar side, but we're just talking here right now about, the black bear thing. So when you think, gee, what did the cancellation of Washington State spring bear hunting season do? Well, it allowed the department to expand. And if you live in Washington, Washington has a huge deficit. The department always has budget shortfalls. And now the commission, by canceling the spring bear season, has created this extra workload for the staff. And the department needs more staff, and the department needs more enforcement officers. And hey, that really doesn't really matter because money's kind of a, government. They're going to spend, and Washington really does. The other thing about black bear conflict, and I'll put a link down below, and we've talked about it in previous videos. The state legislature under the RCWs, which is the black letter of the law, mandated that the department maintain a public-facing web page, the Predatory Wildlife Incidents Reporting Map, and people can go on there, but that only applies to grizzly bear, wolves, and cougars. So the public really has no real way to know just how much black bear conflict is happening, or how much more black bear conflict is happening now since cancellation of the Washington State spring bear hunting season. Chances are, if you're watching this, you know somebody, or you've seen a WDFW Facebook page in the spring, and you've gotten into the comments down below, and you've read and you're reading people saying, hey, look, I'm just seeing more black bears. There's more black bear conflict in my neighborhood. Black bears are getting into garbage cans, blah, 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 blah. So it's this bad circular, non-productive loop, cancel the spring season, conflict increases. Where's the science? The department doesn't have to put black bear conflict on any public-facing web page, so it's not easily trackable, i.e., it's easier to cancel the season and not have people really know what the results are. And it just becomes this sort of negative loop. And I think most of us would agree that we don't want black bear conflict to rise to the point where black bears are biting and scratching people. Most people would agree they don't want to get scratched or bitten by a black bear. Most people don't want other people getting scratched or bitten by a black bear. And when you remove the pressure on them, pressure to move back out into the wild places, remove hunters from the landscape, it's a proven tool. The department admits it's a proven tool. Putting hunters into the landscape mitigates a lot of black bear problems because it pushes them further out where they belong. I mean, I think we all want to see black bears in the woods, out in the forested areas, out in the natural areas, in the habitat where they belong. And they probably don't want to see them walking down their residential suburban street and hanging out in schoolyards. But we do hear those stories every spring. And I'm just going to circle it all around and put a neat bow on it and say, the commission needs to consider returning the Washington State spring bear hunting season. It was a very useful, productive tool on many, many levels, and it's time to bring it back. This experiment of having it canceled now, canceled in 21. Here we are moving into 25. This is an experiment that really hasn't worked out so well. So begin the process to return the Washington State spring bear hunting season. And if you have not looked at a map lately, if you're not real familiar with what's going on each of the 4 sides of Washington State is surrounded on 4 sides by 4 separate governments who all have a spring bear hunting season. British Columbia has a spring bear hunting season. To the east, Idaho has a spring bear hunting season. To the south, Oregon has a spring bear hunting season. And to the west, the Quinault Indian Nation has a spring bear hunting season. And yes, non-tribal members, licensing, tags, guides, do the requirements, but the members of the public can go out there. Again, follow the rules, follow the regulations, find out what it takes to go and hunt in these different areas. What's it take to hunt in British Columbia? What's it take to hunt in Idaho? What's it take to hunt in Oregon? What's it take to hunt out Quinault Indian Nation? But they all have spring bear hunting seasons. What is it about the majority, only a couple of people, on the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife Commission? What is it going on with them that they decided we're surrounded on 4 sides by spring bear hunting seasons, but Washington's not going to have a spring bear hunting season? Thank you so much for watching this one today. I appreciate your time. Again, going to put some links down below in the video description for you. And to close up, black bears, they're not furry forest pets. They're wild animals. Stay safe out there.